Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my director spotlight on Mamoru Oshii. So if you're newer to this channel, I have done a bunch of top 10 lists for various directors, certain genres of film, and I even did a 200 recommendations for Japanese films from the last 100 years, and I broke it out by decade. And all of those are in one playlist. So I'll include a link to the playlist in the description box below. It's been a little while since I've done a top 10, but I got time to, do one, so I'm going to do one now. And Mamoru Oshii is quite a legend in anime circles in particular. However, he also directed some incredibly unique, oddball, live-action films as well. In fact, this top 10 list is going to be a little different from my usual format because a lot of his best anime films, in my opinion, are in two parts. You know what I mean? There's two-parters. So I decided to combine those together when ranking them for the purposes of convenience. In addition, his live-action projects are so weird that they were all kind of battling each other for the bottom spots on this list, the bottom 5. And I rewatched a bunch of those recently. So it was pretty fun making this list and ranking everything. So let's get to the list. Now, my thoughts on each film will be brief, primarily because this is a list video, not a review. And remember, titles for all the movies I discuss will be listed in the description box below. I'm not providing availability info in this playlist because most of these films I did see years ago, especially his anime stuff. But a lot of Oshii's films are available, especially the anime stuff. And, I usually check Google for availability. So let's get to it. Number 10. Stray Dog, Kerberos Panzer Cops, 1991. This is a live-action drama. This is a companion piece to Oshii's The Red Spectacles, which we'll get to later, focusing on the time of exile for the main character. Now, this has less weirdness and dialogue here compared to The Red Spectacles, but it leaves it feeling more like a delicate art house drama with some very impressive scoring. More than a crazy experimental piece, Now, the problem is that outside of a shootout near the end, not a whole lot happens in the film. A lot of people are sitting around, they're exploring, walking around. Very nicely shot, and there's a pleasant relaxation element to it, almost like you're on a quiet vacation. So this film is more like an experience, but you do need a little bit of patience to enjoy it. I do enjoy it, though. Number 9, Talking Head. 1992, a drama comedy thriller. This is another very weird, experimental live-action film from this director. The plot is basically the crew of an anime film start getting killed off one by one while the director attempts to complete the project. And there are some very lengthy discussions on the history of filmmaking by some weird characters on weird sets, which is oddly interesting and thought-provoking. Most of the film does take place in one location, kind of like this movie theater location. But the lighting and set designs are good, a little bit dry in spots, but worth watching if you enjoy this director's other live-action movies. Number 8, Assault Girls from 2009. This is a sci-fi action piece. Now, this film begins with one of the best opening voiceovers in recent memory, a detailed, highly intelligent summary of the establishment of a socialist nation and how it inspired a virtual reality gaming world. Unfortunately, the movie does kind of dip into no-brain action territory soon after, when we meet a few gamers who attempt to score high points by killing huge sandworms in a desert, reminiscent of Dune, actually. And the dialogue is spoken in English behind some extremely muffled masks, which makes it difficult to understand what some of these characters are saying. But this movie's listed on some websites as a spin-off of the director's previous film, Avalon, which we'll get to later. But this one is shorter, only about 70 minutes long, kind of easy to sit through. The pacing does drag a bit in the middle, but it has some good action set pieces, one of which feels like a turn-based RPG boss battle from a Final Fantasy video game. But yeah, my favorite character is the cute crow girl, played by Rinko Kikuchi. Number 7, Avalon, 2001. This is a Polish-Japanese co-production, which is a sci-fi drama action flick. So this movie is about an elite woman player of a virtual reality combat game Another one of these premises here. A very artistic film with some nice visuals, interesting underlying themes, etc. When players die in this game, they freeze frame and then explode like glass, which is a pretty neat effect. It does drag out in spots, and there are a few, I guess, slightly annoying scenes, like the sloppy eating sequence. But the shootouts are kind of cool, and there's enough to hold one's interest. If you enjoy unique, deliberately paced art house sci-fi dramas, I say check this one out. Number 6, The Red Spectacles, 1987, a Japanese comedy thriller. And this is what I believe to be probably his best live-action film. It's a low-budget flick, bizarre experimental comedy that operates within the constructs of a surrealistic thriller. So a few years after rebelling against a renegade police force, a man returns to Japan in an attempt to find his two comrades who were injured in battle. The plot synopsis really does not do the film justice in terms of its quirkiness, and the humor is quite silly, but oddly creative and chuckle-worthy. Visuals are close to black and white, music is high quality. It does drag a little bit, but it doesn't really make perfect sense at the end of the day, but like I said, it is arguably Oshii's most dynamic and interesting live-action film. And now we reached the top 5, all of which are anime films, to no one's surprise, probably. Number 5, Urusei Yatsura 1 and 2. Now, for number 1, Only You from 1983, an anime romantic comedy. Everyone in school receives wedding invitations for the union between Ataru and L, an alien hottie, I guess. But Ataru's current alien girlfriend, Lum, is not happy. And this is a film that follows a television series, so if you haven't seen that, you may want to read up on it. Apparently, these miscommunications abound in these relationships, and most of the film takes place on spaceships and on an alien world. Quite amusing for the most part. A handful of funny jokes involving the young characters. Way more creative than your typical rom-com. And if we go to the sequel, Beautiful Dreamer, from 1984, Ataru and his alien girlfriend Lum return, but this time their friends get most of the screen time. Lack of a better description, it's an animated comedy with some sci-fi elements that have a greater emphasis on dreams versus reality. They're stuck in an apparent time loop at times, and some weird events in this one, but the craftsmanship makes it interesting and fun. Number 4, Dallos, 1983. This is an anime action OVA series. And this is very early Mamoru Oshii OVA. It's only like 4 episodes, I think, 30 minutes each. It's about an oppressed underclass of miners on the moon who use their powerful mining equipment as a tool for rebellion. And in the near future, mankind has moved from a drained Earth to the moon, and rebel acts of terrorism lead to conflicts with the Earth federal government. Now, this is pretty fast-paced, lots of action, and some very nice animation. Very much a crowd pleaser, I think. Very easy to get into, and if you could find it, this is a great introduction to this director's work. It also has some badass dogs with night vision goggles. I thought were really cool. Number 3, Patlabor, the movie, part 1 and 2. And these movies are from 1989 and 1993. They're kind of like drama action thrillers. Basically, mysterious robot malfunctions lead Special Unit Number 2 to investigate the new operating system for labor vehicles used in construction. And the investigation is enjoyable in how it's executed, and the robots are conceived in reality. Method of malfunction is also unorthodox and quite interesting. It's kind of a surprisingly grounded anime that's high quality in just about every aspect. And the second film, you get basically terrorist attacks, and there's a state of near panic as the military and police force face off against each other. And again, another highly acclaimed, high-quality flick, more of like a political drama thriller, touches upon the comparison between engaging in a just war versus isolating oneself in an unjust peace. Very high-quality stuff. Again, if you're a fan of like a little bit more realistic anime, sci-fi anime, you gotta check these movies out. Number 2, Ghost in the Shell 1 and 2 from 1995 and 2004. Now, obviously, I think most people are familiar with these, but, set in the future, an elite group of cyborg agents try to stop the Puppet Master, a consciousness born from the sea of electronic information that can possess cyborg bodies. Highly acclaimed film, one of the most influential anime films of all time. And it considers the nature of humanity and the soul. It does contribute some intelligent contemplations. The action is well done, and the mood is quite a lot darker than the television series, but I like both. And in the sequel, I may be on the minority, but I think Innocence, the sequel, is just as good as the original, or at least comparable. You know, the animation is superb, lots of weirdly beautiful environments, there's some good action beats in it, and much of the dialogue focuses on providing interesting deliberations on human nature, jam-packed with philosophical pondering. Yeah, really good stuff. Gotta check these out. And my number one pick, my favorite Mamoru Oshii film, Angel's Egg, from 1985. It's an anime fantasy horror drama. A mysterious girl nurtures a large egg, and she meets a soldier, then wanders around a surrealist, gothic city populated by statues, shadows, and otherworldly phenomena. Now, with this film, I think Oshii created one of the most beautiful, fantastical worlds ever conceived, with ominous environments, decrepit architecture, ethereal occurrences, etc. Now, the pacing is kind of slow, but the visuals are great, and from start to finish. Minimal dialogue is used, but there's a bunch of symbols and interesting stuff littered about. And I consider this to be a masterful work of art, and it's my personal favorite animated movie of all time. It's that fantastic. So that one comes very highly recommended, like most of his other anime stuff. So those were my personal favorite Mamoru Oshii films. Like I always say, could definitely understand if people have different movies on their own top 10 list. Some people might like his live action stuff more than I do, even though I do enjoy most of it, and it did grow on me after repeat viewings. I think most fans, though, would probably rank his anime stuff at the top, but I do believe his live action projects are worthy of exploring, especially if you like experimental films. Now, I was a little bit difficult to exclude Nowhere Girl from 2015, since I did enjoy that one quite a bit, but it's almost too reliant on the final action set piece, which is impressive. Yeah, still an interesting flick to check out. That would be an honorable mention. So I hope this list can provide some recommendations for those of you who are unfamiliar with this director, and if you've seen some of his films already, tell me your favorites in the comments section below. And as always, folks, I'll see you next time.